This podcast provides a platform for our guests to share their experiences and inspire our listeners to be brave and bold in pursuit of their dreams. As you listen, we invite you to explore how these concepts apply to your own story. You know what to do. Be great and be grateful. We're mic'd up with Mike DeChocho.
And I have in studio today, all the way out in Toronto, Lavender Morantz. I'm honored to have Lavender as a friend, but today we're going to learn about her business ventures, her family, most importantly, why she does what she does. So Lavender, welcome to the show. It's an honor to have you.
Thanks, Mike. It's such an honor to be here.
So I'm going to start us off with your bio and bring everyone else up to speed. And then I have a couple questions for you. And I selected these questions because I feel they can really help our listeners get the most, let's call it meat on the bone, the most information that they can use, hopefully as inspiration into their own life. Sound good?
Cool. Can't wait.
All right. So if you guys are not aware, Lavender Morantz has been a serial entrepreneur with an obsession for personal freedom for more than 12 years, beginning with interior design, then getting into home building to online wellness, writing, speaking internationally, and also coaching fellow entrepreneurs. Lavender inspires others to intentionally create a life they love. How about that? All right. What did I leave out there? So, something we talked about briefly off camera, I want to bring it onto the show is, your bio, it mentions it as well, freedom, right? So I've seen the term freedom junkie, and that's funny enough, that's actually your, call it screen name on this Zoom call right now. So I think it's appropriate, right? Freedom junkie, right? So it's on your website, it's on your social, it's your name on the Zoom call as we speak. Seems to be a theme, right? I love seeing the pics of you and your girls spending quality time together. You have a beautiful family, and it's refreshing to see someone who, like yourself, you're in go mode all the time. I totally get that. You're extremely business oriented, yet it doesn't come at a cost for quality time with your family. So can you elaborate on how you mastered being a freedom junkie, and why is that important to you?
Yeah, thanks, Mike. And my girls are super important to me. I have two daughters, and they're the whole reason we're doing this thing. So, freedom to me is one of our biggest values, and I knew that if I was going to be able to build something business-wise that's sustainable, it had to be around our core values. So, freedom, health, travel, adventure. Kindness, creativity, but freedom being kind of in the driver's seat for us, because to me, freedom equals choices. And so when you have the choice of how and where and when and with whom you want to live your life and do the things you want to do, it's great to be able to have that personal freedom to choose in a way that suits you and complements your life. And, my girls always come first.
So you feel that your personal health, obviously taking care of yourself, taking care of your family's health, your well-being, that also includes spending time with them, making sure they're happy. Then when you feel that is really bringing you good vibes, positive energy, then you can go and be the best business person, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of people, I don't want to speak for everyone, so I'll even speak for myself. Sometimes when I have a massive goal or something I'm excited about, success seems to be something involving that. Maybe it's a business adventure or, making X amount of dollars. But at the end of the day, if you're chasing that and you're not taking care of your personal health, your mentality, your mindset, your family, even but of course your relationships with your friends, all that stuff is like your personal energy. And then when it comes to picking up the phone and having a business phone call, you're going to feel good about it. You're not going to have that extra stress of like not knowing who you are and why, like when you're not doing it for the right reasons. Am I on with that?
Yeah, it's such a great point, Mike, because I truly believe, and you may be on board with this or not, but energy is everything. And if you don't have like your own personal energy toolkit to keep yourself in check and aligned, then you carry either that good or bad energy into whatever else you do, including your relationships, including your business, everything. It affects everything we do.
100%. Yeah, I feel like everything's relationships is the core of what we're doing, right? We're building that. I don't think anyone would want to set out to only scratch their own back and then that's it. At the end of the day, they're like, what do I really have here? It's about building, growing. That's why I wanted to do this podcast, was to connect with more people. Someone like yourself, we met, I believe it was 2 years ago, at least a year and a half, 2 years ago, with the Avanti Entrepreneur Network. And I had the opportunity of coming up to Toronto to help you out with a meeting that you were having, which was amazing, connecting. It was the day before Thanksgiving. I remember my road trip up with Dave was a lot of fun, and coming back, hanging with family the next day for Thanksgiving. So that was a lot of fun. So I want to thank you again for having me involved with that. But something I want to continue on the topic, really, because we're talking about energy and we're talking about relationships, and something that you tie it all into. It's a quote. I forget who the quote's from, but you can help us out with that.
There's a quote I love by Pierre Desjardins that goes, "We are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience." And that resonates so much with me.
Can you elaborate on what that means?
I think that, no matter what you align with spiritually or religious wise, I think that there's a bigger picture for all of us that, if we take it from the perspective of, our ego self or our like humanness, it's easy to lose sight of kind of the bigger picture and the bigger connectedness and oneness between everyone. But if you can look at, your life or your business or your relationships from a perspective of connectivity and, that other person is you and you are that other person, I think it's a really different experience overall, and you make choices differently from that perspective that benefit everybody, really.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Can you share a little bit about when you say your struggle can set you free in your TEDx? I know it's very deep. I know it's a personal and emotional. I know this could be like a 2-hour podcast if we talked about everything. But can you take some of the core messaging from that? Because I really enjoyed it, and I feel like, again, one of the reasons doing this podcast is because if I get a great piece of information, I feel it's a sin to keep it in and not get it out to the world. So can you talk about some of the layers that you discuss when you talk about your struggle can set you free?
Of course. Yeah. I mean, I built the talk because I really believe that struggle in general is a human experience, and it's what connects all of us, because there's not a single person on the planet that hasn't experienced struggle in some way, shape, or form. And so I know that struggle, when we're going through it, feels so super isolating, like we almost like shut down our outside world and turn inward, which is good too, but it can get too isolating as well. And when we keep in mind that everybody goes through struggle, it actually does really connect you to the next person and to the rest of the planet. But some tools I shared with my TED Talk were to, when you're in struggle, how to keep your brain trained on the solution and the, light, so to speak, at the end of the tunnel versus the victimness of it, because it's very easy to start feeling sorry for ourselves when we're in the mess. Yeah. The 3 tools I shared were gratitude. So finding something, even small, to be thankful or grateful for, or something during your day that was magical, because as you know, what you pay attention to expands. So if you're going to look at the negative things or the problems or the struggle itself, you can bury yourself real quick. But if you're willing to look for, that one little ray of sunshine in your day, even if it's small, it can turn your entire day around, and day after day, it can actually pull you out of the struggle. The next thing is joy. And joy and happiness, I find, are different. We can find joy in moments of unhappiness. It's always accessible. So looking for joy or intentionally doing things that, bring you joy, no matter how big or small. And then the last thing I offered kind of as a tool for going through struggle is to do nothing. And I know that sounds super counterintuitive sometimes, but by nothing, I mean allowing your body and your intuition and your inner voice to some time to breathe and speak and connect. Mm-hmm. Because when we're like constantly like stressed or cluttered or rushing, it's just like go, 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 go. And you don't actually give your nervous system time to calm down. So you can meditate, to do nothing. You can go for a nature walk, you can do yoga, or you could just sit quietly and like pay attention to your breath. But I find that that centeredness allows room to move through the struggle more gracefully, if not quickly.
So is that something you're mindful of, scheduling time out every day, talking about doing nothing, which is, I understand what you're saying there. And it's funny too, side note, this is kind of personal, but I don't care. I'm on the record and here we are. But people always in the past have like, whether it's my parents when I was growing up even, or, if I'm like on a vacation or something, and it's like, dude, you take like, how long do you take a shower? Like a half hour? How long are you in there? I think I'm like sleeping in there. I because it's a time when I can actually turn my brain off and my phone's not going off. Like, I'm separated kind of from the world for a half hour. I really like, that's when my best ideas come to me. That's when I think about what I want to do in each of my meetings that day, like what I'm looking to achieve. And then it's also a time to either meditate, reflect, pray. And so, that I kind of utilize that time where I'm disconnected. So I haven't had anyone put it as do nothing. I think Dave has, he's done something, a podcast or something about that topic, but the idea of gratitude, joy, happiness, and then would you call it self-reflection?
Yeah.
And growth?
Yeah. I mean, I simplified it by calling it nothing, but yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no, I think that grabs more attention.
Yeah. And I mean, I love the whole shower.
You want to do anything?
I love the shower situation too, because you're also, if you think about it from this side too, you're connected to a core element, which is water, which is also very meditative too, right? So I think that's really cool that you do that.
Yeah, and it's relaxing, obviously. So it's like, why would you want that to be a 2-minute situation?
Yeah.
It's like,
Live it up.
Yeah, live it up. And yeah, so again, that was the core messaging behind that. So how can someone find that? And it's on YouTube. Is there somewhere quick they can find it?
Yeah, if you just type my name, Lavender Morantz, and TEDx into either YouTube or Google, it comes up right away. So pretty simple to find.
Cool. And I'll put it in the show notes as well and link it for you too.
Thank you.
Now, I don't want to put you on the spot here, but so if you want to go right through to the next question, let me know. But you had a recent health battle, and I know you did not showcase it, but you shared it on social media, and I know why you did it, because you wanted to help other women that were going through a similar situation or that were even pre-decision to get into a situation that you experienced. I want to speak for you, but can you tell us, a little bit of what you went through and how anyone that's listening to this, that you can help them either if they're before making that decision or if they are now having some of the health problems that you experienced and how you can help them out. I want to give you a platform to do that.
Thank you. I so appreciate that. So I did actually share very publicly my recent health battle, let's call it, struggle. And this didn't even happen. Like this happened after my TED Talk, which is hilarious.
About 6 months ago?
We're coming up on a year in December. So, but I did decide to share my story and kind of my journey through breast implant illness because I feel like there's so many people that it could potentially help. And I also feel like there's a lot of like stickiness around the topic because it is very personal. So I also debated sharing it or not sharing it because most people didn't even know I had implants. So I'm like, okay, I'm not only telling the story of how I'm taking them out, but I'm letting most people know that I had them in the first place. Sure. But it had caused so much damage to my health, and not just my physical health, but my mental and emotional and spiritual health, I would say even too, to the point where it had completely taken over my life by like last December. And I think I struggled for a long time with the idea that there wasn't a lot of research or medical information backing the whole implants can make you sick. Mm-hmm. So I probably did about 2 years of research before I finally came to the undeniable truth that this is exactly what is at the core of all of my health issues. And when I figured it out and that light bulb went off, it was like an ugly cry moment because I was like, oh my God, I finally figured it out. Mm-hmm. but also just really grateful that, you know, information is shared so easily these days, which is good and bad because you got to sort through what makes sense and what doesn't and what's legitimate and what's not. But I came across randomly a group on Facebook that was recommended to me, a private group on Facebook that's now over 100,000 women strong who are going through the exact same symptoms. Yeah. So out of like the 70 plus known symptoms, I had over 50.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was pretty scary.
Was your initial primary doctor when you started? What occurred? Let me kind of try to get to what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So, was there a moment? Obviously, there was a lot of moments of feeling sick and your whole body was out of sorts. And I remember you telling me just like, it's hard to get out of bed and like stay focused in a meeting, and you felt poisoned.
Yeah. Yeah.
Body was really
Poisoning.
poisoned. It was chemical poisoning.
Yeah.
But what was the moment where you went to maybe it was your primary doctor? And I'm again, share this. So if someone's going through this, maybe they're like, wow, I have some identifiers I didn't think about. I need to have this conversation with my doctor. So what was that moment where you're like, you know what? I'm done dealing with this BS. We're going to get to the bottom of it.
Right. There actually wasn't. That's a great question, Mike. Thank you. There actually wasn't one moment. There were multiple moments over the 5 years that I had the implants in where I knew something wasn't right health-wise. It got passed off as you're a new mom because I had my daughter Berkeley in that time frame. You're just stressed and tired. You're not getting enough rest. Your hormones haven't regulated yet, blah, blah, blah. So there was a lot of circumstances going on in my life that it was getting kind of passed off to. But I'm very health connected to myself and my body, like just on an intuitive side.
Buying it. You're like, no, there's more to it.
Yeah. And I knew instinctively, I'm like, no, I don't feel like myself. I literally felt like I was dying from the inside out and there was no explanation, but all of the tests my GP was sending me for were coming back negative or normal. And still I had this nagging feeling like something's not right. I should not feel like garbage every single day if I'm in the best health of my life. And I knew what the flip side of that coin was when I felt my absolute best. And I had Winslow, my first daughter, before having implants. So I knew what going through a pregnancy and recovering was supposed to feel like.
Sure.
And so I knew that couldn't have been the only answer. And my symptoms were getting worse. By December of last year, I was losing hair by the handful. And like, thank goodness I have a lot of hair, so I didn't go totally bald.
No, but alarming, obviously.
Yeah, it was crazy. So that was kind of like the like nail in the coffin for like, I need to find an answer. But there were other symptoms like debilitating fatigue, brain fog, memory loss, achy joints. It went on and on. Weight gain, inflammation, crazy food intolerances.
Wow.
The list goes on. So all of these things were like nagging and nagging and nagging at me and compounding and getting worse. And to the point where I was just desperate for an answer. So I just kept digging.
So if you could speak to anyone in our audience, even if they're not going through your exact health condition that you had, how did you get through that? And obviously you were figuring it out as you went. I don't want to, again, speak for you, but do you agree that you were had to figure it out on a daily basis? If you had to go through it again, or you saw a friend going through it, how could you, what advice would you give someone that has that burden of not only the sickness you felt, but you had to share that mentality with your friends and family and strangers? You didn't have to share with strangers, but I'm glad you did. Is there anything you could tell someone to give them extra encouragement or maybe take a little bit of weight off because they're already going through so much?
Yeah, I think that honestly, Mike, the bigger conversation is, why is there so much pressure on women to look a certain way or be perfect? Why are we told from the second we enter this world that we're not good enough exactly as we are? So I think for me, that's been the bigger healing and bigger message in all of this is I never had any reason to not be happy with who I was or what I looked like, even if it seemed small or whatever. We're taught we need to get our pre-baby bodies back right away. And we're taught that if you don't have these dimensions, you're not hot or whatever. And it's just there's so much freedom, word of the day, in just loving yourself exactly how you are. And like, I've also been through cancer. I've been through other very scary health situations, but I honestly want to say this was harder than having cancer because it's a sickness that you can't see. There's not a lot of documentation on it. So literally people think you're going nuts.
Yeah.
But the results after removing the implants, or explanting as it's called, like literally day and night, every symptom is gone, every single one. So
I remember that post. You actually posted like you may have had your procedure a day or two before, and you posted like, these are not in me anymore, right? And then
yeah, exactly.
like you felt 100%, not 100%, but you felt drastically different instantaneously, which is crazy to me.
It's
that our bodies do work that way. When you have a foreign agent chemical in your body, you feel lousy for months to years, and you take it away and your body's like, we're good now.
Yeah, we're good. Thank you. Thanks for listening. Yeah.
Oh my God. It reaffirms everything you're talking about, taking care of your health. Right. And, and obviously you didn't do it realizing you were compromising your health, and I'm glad you're okay now. Obviously, I like when I saw you were feeling great and had that positive energy. You could just, you even mentioned it, but you had a different glow about you. Your confidence was even, I feel, stronger after that whole situation. I hope my listeners don't think I'm a broken record, because I'm going to say this a lot on this show, but I do feel everything happens for us and not to us. And that was also in your TEDx, I believe.
Yeah.
I know one of my favorite entrepreneurs says it a lot, Ed Milet. Shout out to Ed. And so would you say, and one of the hardest things I think to ever say, oh, that's happening for me, is seeing a child with poor health, right? Yourself, obviously, or a close family member. You had cancer, so let's talk about a real situation with yourself in that hypotheticals. How do you see, or how do you feel that situation, if you want to elaborate on what happened, and if that's advantageous to our listeners, I appreciate if you do, but how did that whole situation help Lavender, and, afterwards, how did it help you be stronger and even better for it?
Great question. I think it's so easy when you're in the mess to not realize that it's happening for you and not to you.
Yeah.
Just if you can be mindful of that and look for the ways that it is there to support you and to grow you. I know not all cancer stories turn out the way mine has, and I'm so grateful that I've kind of had that scare and had the ability to regain my health and prioritize my health. I think up until that point, so I had melanoma, which is like the most aggressive form of skin cancer that you can have. It's also, unless it's diagnosed soon enough, there's really no kind of recovery or protocol, which is super scary. So I'm grateful that I caught it when I did, and again, advocated for my own health. I went through 3 different dermatologists before I finally convinced one to do a biopsy, and it came back positive. So
was it something you saw that you said, hey, this doesn't look right?
Yeah. So I've got olive skin. I don't burn easily. I'm not a typical candidate for skin cancer or melanoma, but I had a mole, just a small beauty mark that looked a little bit different to me, but didn't meet the kind of bigger A, B, C, D kind of skin cancer classifications. So I insisted, and I was like, I don't care if I have a scar, like, you need to look at this, because something intuitively just didn't sit right for me. And yeah, like, doctors are great, but you can't put your health in the hands of someone else. You have to advocate for yourself. Yeah. But the biggest thing, to your point, Mike, was I think that it was like the frying pan over the forehead to take my life seriously and really figure out what I wanted to be and do in this world, not just for me, but for my family, like what kind of a legacy I was going to leave behind. And up until that point, I was, blinders on, working in a job I hated just to pay the bills, just to, do it all again the next month. Like, I felt like a hamster in a wheel. And after that, every choice I made going forward was, is this what I really want to be doing with my one precious life?
Yeah.
So
When I met you, Lavender, I saw instantaneously, the first time we met, I saw obviously a beautiful woman, but you were strong, confident. That came away right away. Shook my hand. Hey, we're going to do this event tonight. Where's this going? I got some wine. We got food. We're doing it. Like, you were running the show. You were totally in control. I loved it. And so my initial thought is, wow, she's like, I'm so excited to be doing this event. There's a powerful woman in the room, and she's going to kick butt tonight. But behind all that, like, that was the surface, right? Which is okay. That was your on the surface. That's what I got in 10 seconds. But now that I got to know you over the last couple of years, our phone calls and everything as well, but also this podcast, this the last 30 minutes here is showing me, or I'm learning how and why you were like that. Because underneath it, these devastating situations, right? And I'm sure there were a lot of beautiful situations you had through, of course. You have Berkeley, Winslow, right? They make you who you are as well. But it seems a lot of these devastating things happening for you in the moment. It's hard to see it that way, but now I see a strong, confident woman, and you took the gut punches that came to you, and you made yourself stronger.
Yeah. And I mean, it comes right back to what you said, is things are happening for us, not to us. So if we can break away from that victim mindset, you actually see the gift that's in some otherwise, terrifying or super scary, or, just downright crap moments. There's something good in everything. So I think a lot of us talk about our highlight reel a lot. But I think the intention behind my TED Talk and just sharing those things in general is that, we're all connected by, our struggles and by the negative stuff too. But if we can just explode the bomb up front, so to speak, get it all out on the table, maybe it can help somebody else as well.
Yeah. You're putting that real into the world. You're not putting the kind of the book cover out. You're giving people the pages and the chapters, and people appreciate that. Because one thing I've learned in business too, people do care about your story. If I show up and I'm like, hey, I do social media marketing, and they've heard it from 10 other people, if they don't know who Mike is and what my story is, they're looking at it and buying it. It's like buying a hamburger off the menu. How much is it? What's on it? You know what I mean? What are the ingredients?
This is true.
Opposed to it's free range. It's this, there's a story. Every dollar they make, they give 50 cents to charity. Now all of a sudden you want that. You care about buying that other. That's a terrible analogy. Let's change the product from hamburger to house. But I just use the easiest menu item, right?
Yeah.
So whatever your menu item looks like. So it's why you do it. It's your story behind it. And that's why I always felt so connected to you, because you care about not only what your menu items are and the different businesses, and I want you to talk about your businesses in the last few minutes here, but you care about your products and your services, but it's a story behind it, and it's how you can help the world be a better place. And that is why I'm having you on the podcast, and I want you to get this out, because I think more people need to hear that as well. But I kind of have I thought of another question that I don't have written down here off the cuff. No pressure, but as you're telling me about, how you learned all these things over the years, and you did a fantastic job on your talk, and even in the moments when you were down and you went through cancer and you went through all your struggles, it takes years of reflection to finally figure out where you're at. So I understand that. But do you feel, as a young woman or even as a girl, was there an influence in your life, maybe a parent, aunt, someone you were watching and admiring on TV, books you were reading? Where do you feel that influence came to have that kind of mentality and mindset?
The mindset of working through struggle the way that I have,
or having a better outlook on it and not being a victim. Because I think it's easy. People aren't waking up saying, I'm going to be a victim today, but it's easy to be upset or take your anger out on other people and things like that.
yeah.
So where would you say you got the most influence in how you handled your situations? Because looking back on it, it looks like you did the best you could with the cards you were dealt.
Yeah, and I think that we all do to a degree. Everybody's doing the best they can with what they have at the time, but when you know better, you got to do better. So that's a great question, Mike. And I've had a lot of great influences over the years, from friends to business mentors to perfect strangers, to my mother's an incredibly kind and positive and resilient person. She's also always been very health oriented. She's a doctor. So, you know, I think that there's all different influences, and probably some that I don't even recognize have influenced me. But I think it's making a conscious choice to do better and be better. And once you do that, then you're not stuck in like your ego mind of I am what I am, and oh, woe is me, or
right.
You get out of victim mode pretty quick.
I love it.
Yeah.
This is great. I'm so happy that we're doing this right now. And a month ago, I didn't even know I'd be doing a podcast. It's been heavy on my heart for a while. You encourage me. Every time I text you, I'm like, I have an idea. You always give me love and encouragement. So, it doesn't matter what it is. I know if I send it out to Lavender, you'll be real with me. You're not always going to be like, yeah, Mike, everything you say and do is great. But your encouragement was obviously a big part of this too. And you're excited.
Well, that's where the magic happens. I'm so glad you're doing this too. I think the world needs to hear you.
I love it. A couple more things here. I wanted to keep it about a half hour. I think we're getting close. So talk about a little bit about your current business projects, anything you'd love to share with us, how we can find you. If it's business that's related to a social media account, I want you to share that. And then part 2 is, what does the future look like for yourself? And part 3, any final statements of inspiration based on what you're doing right now?
Thank you. So my big business project right now is I have an online wellness business. So keeping in line with, the health, and as entrepreneurs, I'm like 9th generation entrepreneur in my family. So I knew I wanted to do something aligned with my values. So I've had my wellness business for almost 10 years now. And it's basically building health programs for people. I also work a lot with other entrepreneurs and women who either are interested in health or have a current business that's aligned with health and wellness. So part of my business is helping to grow an organization of wellness ambassadors. And then the other part is dealing with one-on-one with my clients to make sure that they're in the best possible health. And a lot of them are entrepreneurs because, hey, like, we are our business. If we're not in the best health of our lives, like, how can we give the best to others? Whether your business is health or not, you need to be healthy to be able to make it happen.
And a lot of times too, I'm not trying to put entrepreneurism like on a pedestal or anything, but it is a crazy lifestyle. A lot. Like, we're on the go. We need to meet people where they can give us 5 minutes. So we're around to different offices. Some of us are traveling a lot, through the air. And so we're always running around there. And so health could easily be kind of put in the back, And there's a lot more options now, thankfully. And what I love about what you do is you help people figure out how they can fit it into their lifestyle. And not only that, but it's from our conversations, you educate, even further than that. So if they're not doing it for a particular reason, you're not just saying, okay, take this little bar you can eat and that'll solve your problem. It's like you're looking at the big picture. Yeah. Right. So like getting your health and mindset right. It's not just one product you could take that's going to solve it. It's like the whole core of what you're doing needs some evaluation, right?
Yeah. And so I do some speaking on the topic too, just as a result of 10 years in the business. I've got a beautiful event coming up tomorrow night. Thank you. And to be able to reach me, it's at Lavender Morantz on basically all of the social platforms. YouTube. with a Z, Morantz. And words of inspiration. I mean, I just think that alignment is the new black. And so when you're in alignment with the things that matter most to you, like call them your core values or whatever that is, however you identify that. I think when you're living in alignment with what means the most to you, then it's interesting to watch how other aspects of your life and your interactions fall into place and seem to work well too. It's like the universe is like winking at you saying like, yeah, you're on the right track now.
Right. Yeah. And you have to be listening for it. Otherwise, you can easily be trucking along and completely miss the message that's coming at you.
Yeah. The universe has an interesting way of straightening you out. Like I talk about the frying pan on the head moments, but it's like, if you ignore it for long enough, it's going to trip you up. I promise.
Yeah, I agree. And again, thank you for being here on the podcast and sharing your wisdom with us and telling your story, being, a little bit vulnerable to share that information to help everyone that could hear it and apply it become a better person, and that might be a better mother, daughter, could be anybody, could be a husband, it could be a father, it could be a coworker. So I really love how your story really shaped you into a powerful woman, and I'm looking forward to continuing to follow you. I know as much as you've been started, 10 years in business, 12 years as an entrepreneur, you're doing real estate, you have health and wellness going, you're doing peer groups. You got so many different things you've been involved with over the last couple of years. I still feel like somehow you're still not getting started, but like you're like the sky's the limit for you, and that's what's really exciting. And so I look forward to continuing our friendship and rooting each other on and helping our audiences out, right?
Yeah. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
You're welcome, and thank you for being on the podcast. And everyone, thank you guys for listening. If you're listening right now and you're interested in maybe reviewing this again, because there's a lot of great information here, you can check us out on YouTube. All the links will be on any of our social media pages. But if you type in on YouTube, Mic'd Up, which is MIKE', up, with Mike DiCiccio, that's DICIOCCIO, you'll find the show. Also, if you visit socialchameleon.us, which is my company, there is a link right on the website for the podcast. And I'm making it even simpler, mic'duppodcast.com. I'm going to have that route to our website as well. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. There's a word here that I circled on the page. Lavender talked about gratitude, joy, happiness. That's the center, right? The center of our influence. I always like to wrap up with this. You guys know what to do. Be great and be grateful.
Thanks, Mike.
Hey guys, this is Mike, and I wanted to personally thank you for tuning in, for being part of my journey. Together we can make a positive impact in the world. I encourage you to take any of the stories or insights discussed on my show and apply it to yourself personally. I love the quote that Lavender shared during her TEDx. Barns burnt down, now I can see the moon. And Elaine Hall from HuffPost says it best. When disaster strikes and we are brought to our knees, I believe we come to know who we are and what we are made of. In that very moment of revelation, we can mindfully commit to living the rest of our lives from this place of truth, compassion, character, and authentic connection to those in our midst, locally and globally. How can we decide to see the moon without having to have our modern day structures fall? We have the opportunity to choose to build more bridges and walls this year towards creating stronger, more educated, and loving communities. Shall we tell our children the stories of neighbor helping neighbor so they remember that in the midst of disaster, we can be the ones to make a difference? Again, thank you for tuning in and spreading love. You can check out more show notes and information at mic'duppodcast.com, MIKED uppodcast.com, powered by Social Chameleon. You know what to do. Be great and be grateful.